Bonjour, monsieur and mademoiselle. Today we are going to La Tour Eiffel and we are going to make the omelette.
Today on Cooking Through COVID, we're going to be making omelets. So with omelets, we have very limited ingredients. So this is something super simple. If you wanted to do it at home, you could, as long as you had parental permission. So we're going to look at our ingredients and the equipment that we're going to need. Now, I'm a one-man recording crew, so bear with me. So with our hardware, the equipment that we're going to need, you need a spatula at least. A rubber spatula might be easier for some people to use if you had one. You'll need a fork, a frying pan or sauté pan, preferably with slanted sides, a bowl for mixing your eggs, and then we'll move on to the ingredients. So obviously eggs are going to be an ingredient. There are some recipes that may call for 2 and tell you to add water or milk to it to make it a little bit thicker. If you want your omelet thick with 2 C's, then you can use 3 eggs. You'll need your stuff to put in your omelet. So I'm just going to use cheese today, but I also have examples of some other things that you could add in that you might have around your house. So something like diced tomatoes and green chilies, sliced mushrooms that you could saute in your pan a little bit. If you had other leftover things, like sandwich meat or meat from maybe another meal that you had, you can use those leftovers in omelet. So it's a really good food to kind of use up some leftover things that you might have. Vegetables that you might have that you want to throw in, things like spinach, tomatoes, peppers, etc. You're going to need something to grease your pan. I'm going to use olive oil. You can also use butter or margarine, and then a little bit of salt and pepper. So I'm going to back my train up and we'll get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and get my pan heating on my burner. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of oil into my pan. And so it doesn't have to be precise, you can just eyeball it. And then I'm going to put this on about medium heat. So while this is heating up, I'm just going to kind of allow this to spread around so it greases my pan. I might pour just a little more in here. And then I'm going to get that heated while I'm working on mixing up my egg mixture. Alright, so I'm going to... Oh, Lauren, I done dropped this egg. Well, it already cracked for me, so I'm going to go ahead and crack my eggs. Throw those in the trash can. Remember, I did wash my hands before I got started today, and I'm going to wash them again after I'm finished cracking these eggs. Make sure you're washing your hands good. Oh, I just knocked over the soap. And I have on my closed-toe shoes. Alright, so I have my hands washed, and I am going to get ready to put the rest of my stuff into my egg mixture. So salt and pepper wise, we just really need to just sprinkle some in to your choosing. You don't have to measure that. So I like a lot of pepper, and so you'll notice as I cook this, my eggs are going to look a little bit darker because I do like a lot of pepper, and then just a little bit of salt. And then we're just going to use the fork to beat this little mixture together just enough to break up my yolks and get those mixed in with my egg whites. So the good thing about omelets is if you mess up an omelet and it breaks up, you can just basically turn that into scrambled eggs. So really the only way you can completely screw up is if you burn it. So I like to use a rubber spatula when I'm working with my omelet. Some people might prefer a spatula. Either way, it's fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my plate ready. So this is something simple that you could make for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner. And it doesn't really take a whole lot of time to make it. So my pan looks about ready. I'm going to go ahead and pour my egg mixture in here. And so I just want to make sure that it does cover the entire bottom of the pan. That's one of the reasons why if you were using less eggs, it might tell you to add in milk or water. So I'm just going to want to kind of spin this around to make sure my eggs are setting. And what I'm looking for on the edges is that it's starting to turn lighter and it's starting to set. So as this is starting to set, I'm just going to kind of work around the pan and kind of free up the edges that are setting. And that way it's going to help what's in the middle to cook a little bit quicker. So I want to kind of spin my pan around to allow my eggs kind of wash up on the side a little bit, not too much. Because this is going to kind of help me, again, make sure that my omelet is cooking all the way through and I don't bite into the middle and have a big old mouthful of egg goo-goo, which nobody should be into. So as I'm working around the edge, I'm going to pull back the edge and then tilt the pan to allow some of that uncooked egg to go down to the bottom. And so this is kind of good. If I get a point where I've torn my omelet, I can just kind of work my pan around to get this egg mixture into that place where it's torn and it kind of seals up the hole. So I want to try to not obviously overcook or burn my omelet, but I do want to make sure that my omelet is cooked all the way through. So here I've torn it and made a mess. I usually make a huge mess of omelets, truth be told. I hope my foods teacher, Miss Harris, doesn't watch. We had to do this for a test grade when I was in high school. So when I'm ready to add in my stuff, I should see a little bit of shininess, but not this much movement on top. So I want this to kind of set up a little bit more. Before I'm ready to add in my ingredients. So when I add in my ingredients, I'm going to want to kind of make a visual divide in my omelet, and I only want to add them on half of it. So I'm going to tilt, try to get some more of this down here so that cooks. And I'm kind of just adjusting my temperature as I see if it's cooking a little bit too quick or not enough. I'm prepared for that. Alright, so this is about to the point where I'm ready to add in my ingredients. So I'm going to take my cheese and I'm just going to sprinkle it here across the bottom. So again, just looking at that bottom half. And then I'm going to use my spatula to kind of free up this end here. And then I want to kind of use my pan to tilt it and kind of use gravity to help me to fold this over that top. I didn't get too messed up. I have one little baby hole. So I just want to make sure, especially for me, I'd almost rather the bottom of this be a little bit crispy than to have uncooked egg, because that is like the worst. So I'm going to just make sure, looking at my cheese, making sure that it's melting, and then I'm not seeing any more of the runny egg. So here you can kind of move it around the pan a little bit and just make sure that it's not sticking or burning. So eggs are going to continue to cook after they're plated. But again, I do like mine a little bit almost overdone. If you overcook it too much though, it will start leaking water out and it will kind of be gross in its own separate entity. So I just want to make sure I'm not seeing any more runny egg. What I see here on the edge looks pretty cooked through. And so again, I'm just going to use gravity and allow that to just slide right out onto my plates. Ta-da! Omelet with a peekaboo hole. So that's pretty much it for omelets. Pretty simple, cut and dry. There's also another way that you can fold these into thirds if folding it in half is going to be a little bit too challenging for you. You can fold it into a third and then dump it the rest of the way out onto the pan and kind of allow it to fold itself. That's more of a French style omelet. But anyway you slice it, it's pretty simple to kind of get the hang of it after a couple tries at least of making an omelet. And then if all else fails, it falls apart, it's fine. It'll still taste good. It'll be alright. So that's omelets. If you have any questions, just hit me up and remind. Again, you do not have to do this demo for a grade or anything. It's just if you want to, it's your choice. And if your parents, if you have the ingredients to spare in your house to do that. Bye!